Manchester United on the brink of signing generational talent. Zubimendi being considered instead of Ugarte. But is this just a ploy from United to try and bring down the price of Manuel Ugarte? Branthwaite deal apparently 100% off, with Everton sending aggressive message to Manchester United, plus all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. These are some of the topics we will be discussing on this morning's live show. But before we get into that, please smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 1,000 likes on this episode. And if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe to the channel. I'm live every single day at 8:30, 1:30 and 6 p.m. UK time. If you want to keep up to date with all of the latest Man United news, make sure you get involved. It's completely free content and everyone is welcome. Right, let's get straight on into the show then. And I want to first of all ask you all a question. I like to do this. Some people don't like it, but I think it's a good way of interacting and, you know, encouraging people to have their say. I want you all to let me know, who would you prefer, Martin Zubimendi or Manuel Ugarte? Simple question. They both play in the same position, similar age profiles, similar amounts of money, and are two players that Man United are looking at to sign at the moment. Let me know in the comment section. We will talk about this in a bit and I will give my opinion as well. But first of all, I want to talk about Pellistri. So this story kind of came out of nowhere yesterday and it did catch me by surprise. I do personally think Pellistri will leave this summer. He's got 1 year left of his contract. He's apparently refused a new deal at Manchester United. He's effectively realised he's not going to get the game time that he wants to. And I think we can all agree on that, can't we? Pellistri isn't young anymore. He's 22. Kobe Mainoo's 19 and he's playing in the Euros final. He's starting every single week for Manchester United. And I know this is a bit cliche, but if you're good enough, I don't really think age matters. And I don't think Pellistri is that good. I don't know. I think he's all right. When you've got people like Ahmad, who yesterday against Rangers was absolutely unbelievable, was breathtaking, I'm just not convinced that Pellistri is going to get in the team. I'm not convinced that Ahmad's going to get in the team because obviously we've got people like Anthony who seems to just get picked even though he's rubbish. You've got people like Rashford who always gets picked. You've got Garnacho who always gets picked. You've got Sancho who, if he stays, is going to have to be picked. Like, I just don't see how Pellistri is going to get any opportunities whatsoever. And for that reason, I think him moving this summer, it makes a lot of sense. The one good thing about Pellistri is we didn't really overpay on him. We only paid €8.5 million, which is like, what, £6 or £7 million? That was back in 2020. So the understanding is that apparently Manchester United would be willing to sell Pellistri this summer. They'd be willing to listen to offers of around £10 to £15 million. And apparently last night, this was after the game against Rangers, apparently Greek side Panathinaikos have been in contact with Manchester United to understand the terms of the deal for Pellistri. I would be a bit sad for him if he went to Greece. I'm not going to lie. I think he could definitely go to La Liga, go to Serie A. He could probably even go to another Premier League club, you know, that was further down the table. He's a good player. I just don't see how he's going to get opportunities, you know, especially with how good Ahmad played yesterday. Like, Ahmad should be getting lots and lots of game time next season, I think. And I wonder if you agree. Should Ahmad be starting for Manchester United next season? Let me know in the comment section. For me personally, I think he should. I think that first game of the season, it should probably be Ahmad on the right and then either Rashford or Garnacho on the left. That's what I would be doing, without a shadow of a doubt. Because that game yesterday, he was absolutely breathtaking. And I said this on the live stream yesterday when we were doing the watch-along. I actually think that people like Garnacho and Rashford are almost better as impact subs because they don't retain possession very well. They always run at players and shoot, which is great in the, you know, with 20, 30 minutes left of a game when the players are tired. But if you're starting a game off from the beginning and in your first attacking phase, you've got Rashford running at a defence and shooting, like, you might score 1 in 20 times, you know? But the other 19 times he's probably going to miss. And that's not me criticising Rashford. Even if you're Kylian Mbappe or you're Vinicius Junior, if you run at the defence and shoot every single time, you're not going to score every single time, you know? It just doesn't work like that in football. Either the goalkeeper will save it, you'll miss, someone will block it, you might get dispossessed. Like, there's so many things that can happen. So, and I think that Ahmad brings us so much composure. I think Sancho does as well. And I know people are like, get rid of him. I get it. But Sancho, Ahmad, yesterday, I thought were amazing. I do. I thought they brought us so much composure. Ahmad scored a beautiful goal. And the point I'm trying to make here, when you consider all of this, right? And you also consider Erik ten Hag's words yesterday. So after the game against Rangers, Erik ten Hag was asked about Amad Diallo. And he says, this has to be Amad Diallo's year. He says, we have to see Amad in a different way. He is not an inexperienced young player anymore. I trust him. And and that kind of says it all, doesn't it? What does Pellistri think when he's looking at that? Seeing the manager backing Amad to kind of break through into the team. Like, I would be sat there thinking, I have no chance whatsoever. In his whole Manchester United career, right, Pellistri, he's been here since 2020. He's been here for 4 years. He's played 219 minutes. So that's the equivalent of just over 2 games in the Premier League across 4 seasons. And I think that pretty much is the writing on the wall for Pellistri. If you've been at a club for 4 years, you come in as an exciting prospect who people thought was going to break into the first team. And under 2 or 3 different managers, under Ollie, Ragnick and Ten Hag, you only manage a combined amount of minutes of 2 games. I think that says it all, doesn't it? So with 1 year left of his contract, moving on Pellistri is definitely the right decision for me. Obviously, I'm interested to see what other Manchester United fans have to say. Maybe you think that Pellistri deserves an opportunity. Maybe you think that, Antony should go and that Pellistri should stay. It would be interesting to see what other people think. In an ideal world, I would get rid of Antony and keep Pellistri, but it's just not realistic. Pellistri has a resale value. We bought him for such a small amount of money. He's on small wages, whereas Antony was a €100 million signing on mega wages. Leaf says that Mount was really good yesterday. Yeah, mate, Mount was quality. I'm telling you now, right? Mount, Sancho and Amad, those 3 bring so much composure. I'm telling you, Højlund would get 20, 30 goals in the Premier League with those 3. And I'm not, and people will say, oh, you beat Rangers, why are you gassing it up? I genuinely believe, right, that if we played Mount, Amad and Sancho, this won't happen, but I'm just saying, they bring so much composure. They're not greedy. They're always looking for another pass before they shoot. I genuinely believe that Højlund would have got 20, 30 goals last season. He would have had so many opportunities created for him because I keep telling you, Garnacho and Rashford, I love them both, right? I think they're quality players on their day, but they're greedy. They're not really team players. And Bruno Fernandes is kind of the same, Bruno Fernandes is always going for the crazy pass. He's always going for the Hollywood ball, as you call it, trying to cut out 3 defenders, a ball over the top. And 1 in 10 times that will work and it will be world class. And then the other 9 times we lose the ball. And I think it has been a problem at Manchester United for quite some time where you see Manchester City style teams, right? Pep Guardiola has it ingrained into them that keep the possession, wait for the final ball. And I know some people find that boring. Like when you watch Man City, it is kind of boring, isn't it? I remember in the FA Cup final, I was watching it just like, their football's not entertaining. I know at points it can be breathtaking, but for large parts of the game, Man City just pass it, and wait for that little moment to break through. And I think that Amad, Sancho and Mason Mount are those types of players. They're very protective of the ball. Whereas obviously, as we said, Garnacho, Rashford and Bruno, they have moments of magic, but then the rest of the time, it doesn't work. But it'll be interesting to see what Erik ten Hag does next season. And I think he's going to have to make some big decisions and he's going to have to upset some people because it's Erik ten Hag's job on the line, effectively, And I back Erik ten Hag 100%. And I think he has the tools to put together a very successful team next season. I genuinely believe that. But I'm just concerned that I don't think we will see those players starting. Amad has to start, without a shadow of a doubt. He has to. We'll do a poll on a minute, and I'll say who should be the starting right winger for the first game of the Premier League. We'll do that in a couple of minutes' time, but for me, it has to be Amad Diallo, without a shadow of a doubt. Everyone who's just joined the video, if you could do me a small favour and smash a like, that'd be really, really appreciated. We've got nearly 1,000 people in the room already, which is amazing. If everyone could like the video, we will hit our likes target, which would be very much appreciated. And we are literally now on the brink of hitting 32,000 subscribers. So if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe to the channel. It's completely free content and I'm live every single day at 8:30, 1:30 and 6. Make sure you get involved. Let's try and hit 32 subscribers by the end of today's video. I think we can do it. We're very, very close. So please go and subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, let's hit that next milestone by the end of today. Okay, let's move on from that though. Let's move over to Zubimendi, shall we? Because he's a player who Manchester United apparently are actively in talks with Real Sociedad over. I personally think that this is just a ploy to try and bring down the price of Manuel Ugarte. I wouldn't put anything past Ineos, though. You know, I wouldn't put anything past them. At the moment, we might be in negotiations with Ugarte, and then next thing you know, we'll get the here we go for Zubimendi. Like, I would not be surprised because they have done some mad things this transfer window, right? People saying that the De Ligt deal was done, that he'd signed, and that, you know, some people had even put out tweets saying that he'd joined Manchester United, the contract was signed, and then 24 hours later, we signed Lenny Yoro. Like, no one expected that. Joshua Zirkzee had already agreed to go to AC Milan. A week later, he was a Manchester United player. Like, I'm not putting anything past them at the moment, and I think that we do have that element of surprise in the market, and I think it is going to start to shock some of these other clubs. Some of these clubs that think they have the power, like PSG, and then they see us going after someone like Zubimendi, they're going to effectively have to bring down their prices. And I think it's a very, very clever tactic because in previous windows under John Murtagh, Richard Arnold, Ed Woodward, etc., right, we knew who our transfer targets were 6 months before the window opened, didn't we? We did. It was obvious. They'd say, this is who we're going to go for in the summer. They'd spend all summer negotiating, and then they'd just pay the price that the team wanted. And that happened every single year. Anthony, apparently we were talking to Ajax at the beginning of the transfer window. They wanted like 30 million euros for him. We waited all window and then bought him for 100 million. Like, every single window, we repeated the same mistakes where we make it public knowledge that we're going after Frankie de Jong. We spend 3 months negotiating. We finally get a deal accepted, and then he says he doesn't want to come. And then we're like, what the hell do we do now? Oh no, we've just lost to Brentford 4-0. Oh my God, what do we do? They're like chickens in the headlights, aren't they? All running around like, we've missed out on our target. What do we do now? What do we do? And then they go for Casemiro for £70 million at the age of 30 and give him 350k a week. And this window has been completely different. It's been like a breath of fresh air. And the thing that we have to really, really think about, right, is who's going to be the better option for Manchester United? And I've got a poll set up now where you can get involved with on the live chat. And the four options I've given you, because these are the four players that we're really, really linked to, is Zubimendi, João Neves, and Manuel Ugarte, and Sofian Amrabat. So I want you to get involved in the poll if you're watching live. Obviously, if you're watching the video back on repeat, you can let me know in the comment section. Who should Manchester United sign as the new central midfielder this summer? I'm probably going to shock a few people here, and that's all part of conversation. We can all have differing opinions. I would personally go with João Neves and Sofian Amrabat. And I know some people are probably like, what are you talking about? Why? I think João Neves is a generational midfielder, 19 years of age. I genuinely think in the next 2 or 3 years, he will be one of the best midfielders in the world. I would bring him in, and then I would bring Sofian Amrabat in. And if worst case scenario happens, you keep Casemiro for 1 season. I would personally rather sell Casemiro, but if the option doesn't come in, then your central defensive midfield options would be Casemiro and Amrabat, which isn't amazing, but it's not terrible. And then you'd also have Mason Mount, João Neves, Bruno Fernandes, Kobe Mainoo. You'd have those 4, which would then allow you to move on McTominay and Eriksen. That's what I would do personally. We've got a super chat coming in here from Knock. They are saying, I like the stream or wake up naked spooning Haaland. Okay. Fair enough. Thank you very much for your comment. Caught me by surprise a little bit, but yeah. Is that a poll that you want doing? Like the stream or you'll wake up naked spooning Haaland? Fair enough. Not really sure what to say on that. But in relation to João Neves, he is apparently available for 75 million euros. So he has this 120 million euros release clause. But the president of Benfica came out a couple of days ago and said that apparently he is available for less, and apparently PSG are close to agreeing a deal for 75 million euros, which is about, I think it's about 65 million pounds. Let me check. It's less. It's 63 million pounds. That's how much PSG have apparently agreed a deal for. Now, there is some mad conspiracies going around at the moment, and I'm going to talk to you about them, and we can see what we all think. But there is a real domino effect at play at the moment, okay? And it's all to do with agents. So the same agent has Lenny Yoro, Manuel Ugarte, and João Neves. That agent is Jorge Mendes. And there are some murmurs, okay, from reliable people that apparently Jorge Mendes was one of the vital parts that got Lenny Yoro to join Manchester United. And apparently part of those conversations were that then Manchester United would sign his other client, Manuel Ugarte. Now, Manchester United want him. It's not like they're being forced to buy him, just to be very, very clear. But it was kind of like a big triangle conversation where Manchester United said, we want Lenny Yoro. Lenny Yoro says, I want to go to Real Madrid. His agent says he wants to go to Real Madrid, and the deal looks unlikely. Liverpool didn't even bother bidding because they thought he was 100% going to Real Madrid. And PSG had a bid rejected as well. People forget that. People think that we overpaid and the only reason he's coming is for money. Lenny Yoro rejected PSG about a week before we signed him. That was reported by Fabrizio Romano. He didn't want to go there. He wanted a new experience. He wanted to leave. So you can understand how this whole little circle of negotiations is ongoing, right? You've got PSG who want João Neves, and you've got PSG who want Lenny Yoro, both of which are Jorge Mendes clients. And then you also have PSG who have Manuel Ugarte, who wants to leave, is not getting game time, who is also the same agent. So there's this whole like triangle going on, which I think might actually make the deal, the hijacking deal for João Neves difficult, because effectively João Neves coming to Manchester United would upset a lot of people. Think about it. It would upset PSG, and obviously they've just... Do you see what I'm saying here? There's this weird little triangle going on. And I think for that reason, Manchester United now are going to go all out for Manuel Ugarte. But I personally would go for João Neves and Amrabat. That's my opinion. Obviously, you can have a differing opinion. That's completely fine. Yeah. I do like Manuel Ugarte. I just think the 70 million euros that they're asking for is extreme. I don't think he's worth that. I think he's probably worth closer to 45, 50 million euros tops. And when you've got someone like Zubimendi, who is, in my opinion, one of the best central defensive midfielders in the world, unbelievable talent, unbelievable, right? Literally reminds me of a Busquets or a Rodri. He would be our Rodri. And we need a player like that. Whereas Manuel Ugarte, I just don't think he's quite at that level yet. He is a couple of years younger, though, to be fair. Manuel Ugarte is only 23, and I think Zubimendi's 26 this year. So, you know, they have got 2 or 3 years gap between the two players. But, yeah, it's an interesting one. And obviously, I want you to let me know what you think about this in the comment section, because it is quite a strange situation that there's these 3 players that Manchester United are all linked to, and they're all under the same agent. This Jorge Mendes, obviously Ronaldo's agent. He's one of the biggest agents in the world. And yeah, the story that I was reading this morning was that he was apparently vital, an essential part of convincing Lenny Yoro to join Manchester United. And kind of that convincing was under the assumption that they were also going to sign Manuel Ugarte. So PSG were rejected, but then the agent could tell PSG, Lenny Yoro wants to go to United, but João Neves is going to come to you, and Manchester United are going to buy your player Ugarte. Do you see what I mean? It's like this weird little triangle that's going on. So yeah, I think with that in mind, we'll have to wait and see what happens with Manuel Ugarte. I personally would love it if we just get a story today that's like, here we go, Zubimendi to United. I would, because I think it would just continue to show us that whatever you see in the media this summer, Ineos are doing other things. Because every other year it's been so predictable, as I said a couple of minutes ago. Every single year it's like, we're going to sign Frankie de Jong, we're going to waste all window on the same player, and then we don't get the player, or we overpay on the player. Whereas this window, like, at the beginning of the window, who thought we would have got Lenny Yoro? I honestly don't think a single person watching this stream, if I'd have asked you a month ago, are we going to sign Lenny Yoro? You would have all been like, not a hope in hell. He's going to Real Madrid. No way. Impossible. And then what do? We go and sign Lenny Yoro. Daniel says, I'm picking Zubimendi over Manuel Ugarte any day of the week. The other thing as well that we have to remember is, right, how good was Toby Collier yesterday for Manchester United? He's a CDM. 19 years of age, just come through from the youth academy. He was unbelievable. Now, I'm not saying he's good enough to start every single week, but if there was a world where we went for João Neves and Amrabat, yeah, your 3 central defensive midfielders would be Amrabat, Casemiro, and Toby Collier. Toby Collier held his own yesterday. Remember, Rangers put out their best starting 11 yesterday, right? And apparently they've played more preseason games, they were more fit and all the rest of it, yeah? So they were further along in their development. And you couldn't tell that Toby Collier was a 19-year-old playing his first minutes in the first team against a side who finished top of the Scottish League, or first or second in the Scottish League. I know people will say Scottish football's like much lower level than the Premier League, but still, like, you get the point. It's not like we were playing a team from the Conference League or something, you know? Like, Rangers do have some all right players. They're all like professionals who've been in the game a long time. But yeah, Toby Collier yesterday was a really, really, really good performance, and I can see why people are predicting that he's going to break through into the team this season. And I hope he does. I hope he gets his game time. I would much rather we go and bring through players from the academy than just spend loads of money on signings every summer. Because Kobe Mainu, right? Generational talent. We're going to talk about another generational talent in a minute, by the way. But Kobbie Mainoo, generational talent, come through the youth academy, starts every single week for United, and has just started every game for England at the Euros. And that was because Erik ten Hag gave him a chance. And maybe that the same thing can happen with Toby Collier. I think it can. And from what I've seen of him and what I've heard, I think he's the real deal. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. Before we move on to the next part of the show, we've got over 1,200 people watching live now, which is amazing. I've set a likes target of 1,000 for today's video. So if everybody who's watching could pause the video and like quickly. And also, if this is your first time watching, please do make sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 32k. We're very, very close. I reckon we can hit it by the time we end today's video. If everyone who's watching who isn't subscribes, we will hit that target by the end of today's show. So go and do that now, and let's move on to the next topic. So up next, I have some big news for you on Chido Obi-Martin. I'm thinking of doing a video later on today, actually, at lunchtime, where it's like a breakdown of this player, because I know a lot of people don't really know that much about him, and I'm not going to lie to you, until a week ago, I'd never heard of him. But since Manchester United have been linked to this Chido Obi-Martin guy, I've been obsessed with him. I've been speaking to Arsenal fans. I've been watching loads of videos. I watched back one of the games the other day. He scored 7 goals in one game against Norwich in the under-18s Premier League. 7. Within 67 minutes. This guy is the real deal. And I've put generational talent in the video headline, right? He is a generational talent, and I'm not just saying that. He's absolutely unbelievable. So I'll give you a little bit of information about him now really, really quickly, and there will most likely be a video going out on the channel, hopefully today if I have the time to record it. So I want to make sure it's good, and I want to make sure it's detailed. I don't want to just put out something for the sake of it. So yeah, Chido Obi-Martin, he is 16 years of age. He's a Denmark international, so obviously we have the positive there of we've got Højlund already, and we've got Eriksen, so we have that kind of... Yeah, we have that person to convince him. He joined Arsenal 2 years ago from FCK Youth. He is a centre-forward. That's his only position he can play. And last season, in the Premier League, the Under-18s Premier League this is, he got 32 goals and 3 assists in 20 matches. And I know people will say, oh, it's the Under-18s Premier League. Like, would he be able to play now? He's only 16, so the understanding is that he would go into the youth team to begin with. But having spoken to my Arsenal friends, they genuinely see him as somebody who is the best player to have come through their youth academy in ever. That's what my friend said. My friend's the same age as me, so I don't know if there's been other better youth players in the past, but based at the current moment, he said effectively this Chido Obi-Martin guy is the best youth player in the Arsenal academy. Now, I can see people in the chat saying, like, if he's that good, why are Arsenal selling him? Like, why would they let him go? Well, it's not really as simple as that, because his contract's expired. So apparently they've offered him a new deal, Arsenal, on massive wages, and he's rejected it. He says, I don't want to stay. I want to move on to somewhere else. He was at Old Trafford and Carrington a couple of days ago. He was shown around by Ruud van Nistelrooy. I mean, imagine that, right? You're a 16-year-old striker, and you're going to visit clubs. And you haven't just got like a random person who's showing you round, you know, like somebody who just works for the club. You've got Ruud van Nistelrooy showing you round. Imagine that. Imagine the euphoria you would be feeling. And also imagine, right? Imagine the appeal of young players to come to Manchester United now. You've got Kobbie Mainoo, who 12 months ago, I would say 99% of people in this fan base thought that he wouldn't be starting every game. No one in this chat thought that Kobbie Mainoo would be starting in a Euros final within 12 months, right? And you can see an actual route to the first team now. Whereas with Arsenal, I don't really think you can. I know they brought through Saka. I know they brought through Emile Smith-Rowe, but I feel like Arsenal do actually sign a lot more players in those key positions. And I think that's probably why he's looking at alternative options, because he's looking at Manchester United and he's thinking Rashford, Greenwood, Kobbie Mainoo, Scott McTominay, like all of these people who've come through the youth academy in recent years. There's probably loads more I've forgotten about, right? We've just signed Lenny Yoro, 18. We've signed Xerxes, early 20s. Like, he can see what Manchester United are trying to do. And I think he could look at our team and think, I'm genuinely going to get opportunities, you know? There was talk that we needed a third striker, but if this guy signs, which it looks like he will, I'll bring you all of the kind of the news bits in a minute about him. I reckon he genuinely could be in the first team in the next kind of 12 months. There's no reason why he couldn't. Kobbie Mainoo was in the first team at 18. Chido Obi-Martin turned 17 in like 2 months. So he'll be 18 next year. So yeah, very, very excited about this guy. He's a real talent. I would say he's genuinely one of the most exciting players that we're looking at the moment. Like, I'm more excited about him than I am about Manuel Ugarte, genuinely. Just because of how much of a talent he is. And I think that's just because I've been obsessed with him since this story came out. Because like I said, I'd never heard of him. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to pretend that, you know, I'd heard of him before, because I haven't. Like, I don't watch Arsenal youth games. But from what I've seen of him in the last week, the people I've spoken to, like, they're saying this is one of Manchester United's biggest kind of transfer achievements in the last 10 years. Like, it's massive. But in relation to the facts about it, because I know people are probably like, I want to know what's actually going on. So Fabrizio came out this morning saying that Manchester United now want to close the deal for Chido Obi-Martin as soon as possible, and they are now pushing to seal the deal. And then there's another story this morning as well saying that apparently Chido Martin has agreed personal terms with Manchester United and he wants to move to the club. He went and looked at Bayern. I think he went and looked at a couple of other Premier League clubs, and it looks like he's going to pick Manchester United. And this is what I'm kind of saying. These young youth options can see the trajectory that Manchester United are going on. They can see what Ineos are trying to do. And I think a lot of them want to work under Erik ten Hag. They can see that Erik ten Hag does play youth players. I know people will say, oh, Eric's got his favourites. He always plays Anthony. He's not good enough. I get that. But if we didn't have Erik ten Hag, do you think Kobbie Mainoo would be starting every single week if Ollie was still here? I don't think he would, personally. That doesn't mean me... I'm not saying that Kobbie Mainoo's not a good player, by the way. I'm just saying that you have to give a lot of credit for Erik ten Hag for the development of Kobbie Mainoo. Does anybody remember back to the League Cup final last season, the season before last? And there was that video, wasn't there, of Erik ten Hag with his arm around Kobbie Mainoo. This was before Kobbie ever even played in the first team. And you can see him with his arm around him, and you can see them talking. And people asked Kobbie recently what Erik ten Hag said to him, and he said, this future is yours. You're going to be part of this team. Like, take in this moment of winning the League Cup. Like, this will be you. And what happens 12 months later? He starts every single game. He's in the Euros final. He was probably England's best midfielder in the Euros, I think. Better than Declan Rice. He was better than Bellingham. Like, and that's obviously that's because Kobbie Mainoo's talented. But the point I'm trying to make here is because of Erik ten Hag's ability to develop and trust youth players, which is why Manchester United signed him in the first place, by the way. Erik ten Hag was because of his ability to bring through youth. So yeah, really, really excited about that. We should hopefully get the here we go for Chido Obi-Martin today. Someone in the chat says that apparently Chido Obi-Martin's idol is Cristiano Ronaldo. Cool. I mean, that's even better. So yeah, really, really excited about that one. Obviously, as soon as we get the here we go, I will bring that to you. But as it stands at the point of recording this video, it looks like Manchester United will get their man. Apparently, he has told Arsenal that he is going to join Manchester United, and Fabrizio saying that a deal is close and Man United are pushing to get this one over the line. I'll record this video hopefully today where I talk about him a little bit more, because I know people are probably like, why are you getting so excited about some 16-year-old who's probably never going to play for the first team? But honestly, I think within 12 months, we'll see him at least on the bench. At least. Genuinely. And I think if we get an injury in a striker's position, he could be in the first team quickly. Because he has that quality. He doesn't look like a 16-year-old. Think about Lamau. I'll move on from this in a minute. But think about Lamau, yeah? Lamau is he 16? I think he is, isn't he? Yeah, he's 17, Lamau. He just turned 17. So age is just a number with football, you know? How good is Lamau? He's unbelievable. And nobody's like, oh, he shouldn't be playing because he's 17. It doesn't matter. If you're good enough, you'll play. And I genuinely think this Chido Obi-Martin guy is good enough. But right, let's move on from that, though. I'm going to start up a new poll in a minute. So in relation to the first poll, I asked you, what would you rather? I gave you 4 options. Your options were Zubimendi, João Neves, Ugarte, and Amrabat. If you're watching back on repeat, you can let me know in the comment section. At the moment, Ugarte is leading the poll with 38%. We've got Zubimendi in second place with 29%. João Neves with 27% as well. And then you've got Amrabat with 4%. I'm going to take a screenshot of that and I'm going to post it on Twitter. Does anybody watching the show use Twitter, by the way? Because we've just made a Twitter and I would love to see some of you come and join us. I'm going to drop a link in the chat to do that now. So if you do want to come and join us on Twitter, then you are more than welcome. Let me do that. Somebody in the chat is saying, are you wearing a Celtic t-shirt? No, it's not Celtic. It's a Stone Island t-shirt. I don't know. I'll show you on the camera. It's not Celtic, no. Why would I be wearing a Celtic t-shirt? Someone says, how much would Zubimendi cost? He's got a release clause of 50 million, Zubimendi. So, yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the show, though. I don't know if you could even see my t-shirt then, but let's see what we've got coming in the chat. But yeah, make sure you go and follow us on Twitter if you're interested in more chat. We have good conversation on there, so you're welcome. Okay, let's have a look. So somebody says, if we could sign one more position this summer, what's the priority? I mean, it has to be a CDM. It has to be. Without a shadow of a doubt. Like, CDM is absolutely essential. It really, really is. We've had a massive hole in our midfield for probably 10 years, realistically. I mean, if you think over the last 10 years, what CDMs have we had? Fellaini, is he even a CDM? I honestly don't know. Like, we haven't had like a specialist CDM in so long. Schneiderlin. I mean, we haven't had a world-class CDM for probably since like the Roy Keane, Carrick kind of days, have we? I know obviously football's changed and Roy Keane wasn't really a CDM, but yeah, so it's crazy really. But yeah, I would say CDM has to be the priority now. Lumen says, you look like a 20-year-old Amrabat. I'm actually older than Amrabat, so I'll take that as a compliment. Okay, let's move on from that though. Let's move over to Rabiot. I know people are sick to death of Rabiot, but it is a news show and the news about Rabiot is coming out thick and fast. The news this morning from Manchester Evening News is that apparently Manchester United are now strongly considering signing Adrien Rabiot. Fabrizio came out yesterday saying that apparently Rabiot wants to join the Premier League. He's desperate to come to the Premier League. How does everyone feel about Rabiot? I'm always interested to see what people think. I know Rabiot has mixed opinions in the fan base. I'm going to do a poll on it quickly. Let me just set up this poll. Whilst I'm setting up the poll, if everyone who's watching could like the video, that would be really, really appreciated. It really helps the channel. It doesn't cost you any money. So if you are able to do that, please do like. And make sure you subscribe as well. As I said, I'm hoping we'll hit 32k subscribers by the end of this stream. So make sure you go and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help, guys. So if you are able to, please do that. I'm trying to set up a poll, but it's not letting me. Oh, yes, because I've already got one open. So yeah, I'm going to ask you the question on Rabiot. Should United sign Rabiot? My stance on Rabiot is this. Should Manchester United sign Rabiot today? No. Massive no. We don't need him. We've got plenty of other options in that position. Should Manchester United sign Rabiot at the end of the window if Eriksen leaves, McTominay leaves, Casemiro leaves, Hannibal leaves, obviously Donny's left, that would be 5 midfielders. If all 5 of those midfielders leave, and we need like 2 or 3 midfielders, I would give Rabiot a go as a free agent. But at this moment in time, I don't think we need him. At this moment in time, we need to put all of our focus on a CDM. And I would only really go for Rabiot if it was like an emergency signing. But having watched an interview yesterday with Dan Ashworth, it was an old interview, but Dan Ashworth doesn't do emergency signings. He already knows what he wants to do like 2, 3, 4 windows ahead. And I think Rabiot would be like a Glazer type signing, wouldn't it? It's like an emergency. We don't know who to buy. Oh, Rabiot's available for free. Oh, he's got loads of followers on Instagram. Oh, yeah, let's get Rabiot. Like, he feels like that kind of signing to me. I'm not saying he's not a good player. He's achieved a lot in the game. You know, he's won a World Cup. He starts every game for France ahead of people like Tchouaméni and Camavinga. Like, he is a good player, but I just don't think he's really what we need. And I think when you also consider the toxicity that surrounds Rabiot, you've got his mother, who's his agent, who, if he's not picked, his mum comes out publicly and says the manager doesn't know what they're doing. That's the last thing that we need at Manchester United. We're moving in a direction where we're united as a fan base and the team is united, right? I know obviously there are some people who... There are some bad eggs in the club, of course, but I honestly think, right, under the new ownership and with the new coaches and stuff, I think the people who we think are the bad eggs, right, I'm not going to name names, but I honestly think that they're going to come good under the new ownership. I do. And I just think that bringing Rabiot into the mix is a no from me. And I personally think that all of these stories saying that Rabiot's picked to come to United and that Man United want him and all the rest of it, I just think it's his agent, his mum, desperate to try and drum up some interest in him. That's my take on it, because I just don't understand why Manchester United would sign Rabiot. It makes zero sense. Absolutely zero to me. Unless, of course, like I said, imagine if Kobe Mainoo and Bruno get injured in our first preseason game and are out for the whole season. Like, maybe then you have to sign Rabiot. Maybe, you know? But at this moment in time, we've got a fully fit midfield. Casemiro seems to be hanging around. McTominay still here. Obviously you've got Mason Mount, you've got Bruno, you've got Mainoo, you've got a lot of midfield options at the moment, and I think it's Eriksen as well. So for me it's a no, but obviously you can let me know in the comment section, should Manchester United sign Rabiot. There is a lot of stories coming out saying that we're going to go for him, but as I always say to you, right, you've got to be very, very careful in the transfer window, because 99% of the time it's players' agents trying to get their player removed, you know? Somebody's asking me where the Twitter is. I've just dropped a link to Twitter in the comment section. So if anybody wants to come and join us on Twitter, you're more than welcome. We will have an Instagram and a TikTok and all of that stuff set up soon, but at the moment it's just Twitter and YouTube. Okay, let's move on to Casemiro then, because I can see some people saying in the chat, like, what's going on with Casemiro? Why have we not sold him yet? I want to start by saying this, right? We can only sell players where there's someone willing to buy. I was listening to a Talk Sport show this morning. I don't know why. I do like Talk Sport just as background noise. And obviously they get people to call in. And it was a Man United fan, and they were saying like, it's a disgrace that we haven't sold Rashford yet. It's a disgrace that Sancho hasn't been sold. And I was watching it thinking, like, I get that. And this isn't me trying to be like an almighty knowing person. You know, I'm not like that. You know, I don't look down on people because they have different opinions. I don't. And we always have a good conversation here, and it's not toxic. But I was listening to it and I was thinking, like, no one's bid for Rashford or Sancho. And it's the same with Casemiro. This is why I'm talking about this. People probably think we're talking about Casemiro. Why are you talking about Rashford and Sancho? But yeah, this guy on TalkSport, this guy who rung in, and he was fuming. Absolute disgrace. Rashford should be sold. Why has he not been sold? What are Ineos doing? They're no better than the Glazers, blah, blah, blah. You know, he was going off on one, ranting. And we don't do that on this channel, but obviously TalkSport is maybe slightly different. They do kind of more like negative stuff to generate clicks, don't they? But yeah, he was absolutely fuming. And I was listening to it thinking, like, how can you sell a player that nobody wants to buy? Like, and unfortunately, it feels like that's the same situation with Casemiro. The story this morning is that Manchester United are expecting at least one more midfielder to leave this summer, okay? And the two players that are effectively up for sale are Casemiro and Scott McTominay. But as it stands at the moment, it looks more likely that Scott McTominay is going to leave than Casemiro, because nobody's put any offers in for Casemiro. And what I've been told is that apparently Casemiro wants to stay in the Premier League. Casemiro has an elite mentality. I know last season he was terrible. I accept that. But most of our team were terrible last season. Rashford was terrible. Anthony was terrible. I don't know. Most of our team were terrible last season. We'd all agree with that, right? All of them were pretty much terrible, apart from Mainoo and maybe Garnacho. And in some ways, if there's nobody willing to pay 40, 50 million for Casemiro, I think keeping him for one more season probably makes a lot of sense. I know he was poor yesterday, and I know people are probably watching this video saying, like, what are you talking about? Have you not seen him? He looks like his legs are gone. But if no one's willing to buy him, then we're stuck with him. That's effectively what I'm saying. If no one's willing to buy Rashford, then we can't sell him. If no one's willing to buy Sancho, we can't sell him. So it's all good and well, us being like, getting rid of him, get him out of my club and all the rest of it. But if no one wants him, then we can't. So it looks at the moment more likely that McTominay is going to go at the moment. Apparently Tottenham are interested. Pierre-Emerick Højbjerg has just joined Marseille. So Tottenham are looking for a new midfielder, and apparently they're going to come in for McTominay. Fulham are also interested in McTominay. They had a bid rejected last week of 17 million, and Fulham are also interested as well. So I think at the moment we're probably going to be stuck with Casemiro. And the thing we have to remember is this, right? The Saudi transfer window stays open for like 2 weeks after ours. I think it closes mid-September. So even if we don't sell him now, there is a possibility that later on in the window, a team comes in for Casemiro. But yeah, I just think at the moment, the only option for Casemiro is Saudi because of the stupid wages we gave him. He's on 350k a week. There is no way on earth any club outside of Saudi is going to pay Casemiro 350k a week. I don't even think the American clubs would pay him 350k a week, you know? So I think we're probably stuck with him. And in some ways, I asked this on the show a couple of days ago, and it was quite a controversial topic. But if you had to pick between selling McTominay and Casemiro, who would you pick? And I'll ask you again, because I know there's different people in the chat today, and maybe people's opinions have changed. But I would like to know your thoughts. If you had to pick between selling McTominay for 30 million, 100% profit, straight cash goes into your profit and sustainability pot, or you could sell Casemiro. The other thing as well with Casemiro is, right, I think we paid, was it 60 million to Real Madrid? 70 million euros? We're not going to get 60 million back for Casemiro. Like, it just simply won't happen. So if we sell Casemiro for 40 million, right, we would be making a 20 million loss. So although we have money coming in, on our books, Casemiro would go down as a loss, which actually I think maybe complicates things in the financial fair play department. Obviously, we'd clear his wages, which would be a massive help. He's on about £18 million a season. But if you flip that on its side, with McTominay, you sell him for 30 million, and that's 100% profit. He's come through the youth academy. We've never paid a transfer fee for him. So yeah, should we do? I don't know if I want to do a poll on Casemiro versus McTominay. Let me know if you think I should, and I'll do it. But let's have a look what else people are saying in the chat. Some people are saying they'd rather keep McTominay. Let's do a poll on it. So the results of the last poll, 75% of people have said that they don't want Rabiot at the club, and 25% of you say they do. So a large majority of you want Rabiot not to be signed, and I'm in agreement with you. But all the people that do want him to be signed, that's fine. You know, you're entitled to your opinion. There's no issue whatsoever. So what would you rather... Well, let's do who would you rather sell, shall we? Who would you rather sell? Whilst I'm setting up this poll, if everyone could do me a little favour and like the video, we're over halfway to our likes target. So let's make sure we hit that by the end of today's video. And we're literally on the homeward run for 32k subs. So if anybody who's watching isn't subscribed, make sure you subscribed, and let's hit 32k by the time I stop streaming this video. We can easily do it if everyone subscribes who isn't right now. Go and do that now. Who would you rather sell? McTominay for 30 million. So that's option 1. Option 2, Casemiro for 40 million. 20 mil loss. Okay. It's only me who does this channel, by the way, guys. So I apologize when I have to set up the polls. Obviously, I know people are like, what's this guy doing? Why has he stopped talking? But hopefully there'll be more people involved soon. So the question is simple. Who would you rather sell? You have two options. McTominay for 30 million, which will be 100% profit. Or you can sell Casemiro for 40 million, which is apparently his market value. But it would go down as a £20 million loss on our books. Obviously, because we paid 60 million to Real Madrid 2 years ago. So we'll still be paying Real Madrid his transfer fee at the moment. So that's why I've put that in there. I think it's important to give context, because if I said, who would you rather sell, McTominay or Casemiro, everyone's going to say Casemiro. And I hope that people, you know, if people don't like the extra context, then let me know. But I think it is important to give you the full spectrum so you can make like a decision on it. But just to be fair as well, just to give the full kind of account, obviously Casemiro's on big money. So if Casemiro went, we would save a lot of money in wages. So that's obviously needs to be considered as well. He's on 18 million a season, whereas McTominay's not on very big wages at all. So yeah. There's a bit of news coming in about Antony as well. Let's talk about Antony quickly. I mean, that's definitely a problem that needs resolving, isn't it? If Antony starts that first game of the season against Fulham, like, there's going to be a lot of people scratching their heads, because Amad Diallo is literally ready to take that right wing position, isn't he? I genuinely would rather have Amad Diallo play on the right than Rashford or Garnacho. Genuinely. And I've thought that for a while. Purely because of the things I said before, of his ability to retain the ball. He's not greedy. He's always trying to bring other people into the game. Like yesterday, for example, right? When Amad got the ball and cut the ball back to Sancho and he hit it over the bar. If that was Antony, Garnacho or Rashford, they would have shot. They would have shooted 100%, wouldn't they? Without a shadow of a doubt. They would never pass the ball back, ever. But yeah, it looks like apparently Antony has been put up for loan. I mean, that's all we're going to get. Again, if someone offered us a decent amount of money for Anthony, I would sell him in a heartbeat. But it's just not going to happen, you know? So we can only do what's available to us. Let me just check if there's any other news since we've gone live, because in the morning show, we're live and then stuff always just comes out. Yeah, there's obviously a lot of talk about the deal for the Arsenal striker. I think that's probably it, you know? I think we're probably coming to the end of the show. Oh, yeah, the final bit was on Jared Branthwaite. I wanted to talk about Branthwaite quickly. So in relation to Jared Branthwaite, David Ornstein was speaking last night on Twitter, and he said the following. Where's it gone? He's effectively said that if Man United want Branthwaite, Everton have told them they've still got to pay 70 million, which is just ridiculous. Apparently they've told Man United that he's not for sale. And apparently Jared Branthwaite looks like he's going to sign a new contract at Everton. So it looks like the Branthwaite saga is over. And it looks like we probably will get De Ligt. But until we sell a player, I don't think De Ligt will sign, unfortunately. I know some people are desperate for him to come. People are waiting for the here we go. But yeah, until either Maguire or Lindelof go, we're probably not going to see De Ligt as a Manchester United player. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. I will be back at 1:30. Thank you very much for joining me on the show today. I do hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please make sure to like the video as you leave. Please subscribe to the channel as well. As I said, we're literally on the homeward run for 32k. I'm sure if everybody who's watching today who isn't subscribes, we will hit 32k by the time I finish the video. Have a great day, everybody. Get in the comments section. Have your say on everything we've discussed. This has been Daily Red Devil, and I'll speak to you all a bit later. Bye for now.